You are now entering the wondrous world of the weird, the fantastical, and most of all, the concerning. Welcome to the Now Unconcerned podcast with Alfredo Gomez and Trey Gonzalez.
This podcast is recorded live in front of a studio audience.
All right, we are live. This is the Well Now I'm Concerned podcast. I'm Alfredo, and this is your boy.
Hi, guys.
Was your delay that
is-
bad?
No. I was just fucking around.
Oh, you just
yeah.
dramatic.
Just for anyone listening.
Dramatic silence.
Yeah, dramatic pause. No, that's anyone listening today for any weird oddities for the way we're speaking or trying to clarify shit. We're not in the same room right now.
No,
Because-
we're barely in the same hemisphere.
Yeah. Quarantine has gotten legit. It's gotten not super bad because your boy's an essential, so it hasn't changed up too much for me, except for now every time I leave the house, I'm concerned I'm going to die.
That's not different. That's not different from day one.
Yeah, I'd say, well, I'm not doing like gangbanging shit anymore. Like, you expected to get shot or some shit like that. You had some build up to this, but now like I can go and touch the wrong doorknob, and next thing I know, that's it for Trey.
Well, I was always afraid of just like freak accidents, so I'm always expecting death at any moment. Even in my clothes closet, my closet for clothes, where I keep my clothes in the closet, they could all just follow me and suffocate me. So it's also very small, but I don't have claustrophobia, so I'm okay.
Yeah, no, there's a million and one ways to die. They made a show about it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I missed that show. That was a dope show.
Classic show.
Classic.
Spike TV
All right,
had
so...
like some good shit, but not a lot.
Yeah, it did actually. It was a pretty good channel. So what do we got today? What are we talking about?
All right, so we decided to try to get so disconnected from this planet since it's going down the shithole that we reached out to
Yeah.
outer space.
Yoink.
So zoom off in your favorite rocket ship. We all dip. Little Einsteins.
Yeah. So I took a fat rip of some broccoli and I spilled most of my beer. But I'm ready to delve deep. Well, okay, maybe not too deep, but I'm very ready to delve into some extraterrestrial content. All right, this is my favorite stuff. I don't know about you, but this is my favorite stuff.
Dude, I love alien shit, but I feel like there's they fill in the weird gaps because when you start looking into some of the shit, like we did, this whole episode was going to be based around something completely different until we got into it and realized it was kind of an open and shut case. Just no one's listened to the door slamming.
Sometimes, yeah. Well, in the Roswell, when we were trying to do a Roswell episode, and we were going to do our first deep dive into it, and then we both realized like it's kind of easily explained by, what was it? Dang it, I forgot the
Project Mogul.
Project Mogul. There you go. Thank you. Project Mogul pretty much explained it, and honestly, it sounds very credible, and that could be a tactic of the government to downplay it because that's the theme in a lot of the, I guess, extraterrestrial stories that we have and that I've come across. So honestly, it could just be a really good job by the government playing that down. So it didn't even make us want to read further on it because it just ended like womp womp womp.
The only thing that made it so credible for me is I forgot what year it was. Everyone knows the Roswell story.
Yeah, it was 1947.
1948. That's a whole whopping 3 years after World War II.
Yeah.
Gonna edit that out. Whole 3 years after World War II. And, we're marching towards the Cold War. Like, we're already eyeballing the Russians.
Yeah.
Fuck. I shouldn't have smoked before this. Everyone's on like I have the Rona.
Yeah, actually keep that in, and then, you could fake your death later on if you want.
Ah, man. The feds already have too much on me.
Exactly. That's why you gotta fake your death. Get out of this.
Nah, but
So
Project
we're marching
Mogul,
into the Cold War.
Yeah, no, Project Mogul, the whole basis of it is it wasn't a weather balloon. That was a bullshit story. The government lied.
You think so?
initially.
Oh, okay.
Well,
yeah, they lied initially. Wait.
Yeah,
So
when they
you're saying
came
that
out.
they. Yeah.
I'm saying that the second explanation when they're like classified documents were released 50 years
Right.
later, and they said like, yeah, this is a high altitude listening device for nuclear bombs tests. Like only something that's gonna blow up so violently out in fucking Siberia, this will pick up the most minute ways of that big of a sound. And
Well, they were supposed to fly them. They were supposed to fly them over Russia. I
No,
think
they
that
were
was
supposed
just
to
a
be
test.
high enough just the upper atmosphere. Like it's bouncing off all of the
Oh, okay.
neutral air up in the atmosphere, and they'd be able to get those minute bits. But if you look the building design for them, it's foil boxes with a really light frame.
Hey, we
going
all
down.
know government programs are underfunded. This is just another victim of government underfunding. Okay, so they had to make do. They had to use some store-bought foil and some pipe cleaner for a frame, but they got it done. All right, they got it done so well, we think it's aliens.
Well, that's the thing too. You look at the pictures; they're like, "Yeah, man," but he's taking pictures with the evidence, and it's like, dude, it's foil and some sticks. Like that is not at all like some space age.
But
Like,
I mean,
if he was holding a
it's
laser
not
blaster
space
gun,
age, so it's yeah.
like if he had one of those, maybe I would understand. But yeah, just some tin foil and some wood.
Amen. That was high tech back then. But okay, so I guess everybody knows what we're talking about today. We are talking about close encounters with otherworldly beings. And now we're just going to call them aliens from here on out. But so to define a close encounter in ufology, I like how they call it ufology. That's weird. That's a acronym with ology at the end of it, and it's another word. That's crazy.
I mean, they do their best.
They do. So ufology, a close encounter is an event in which a person witnesses an identified flying object. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean aliens. It just means like, hey, what's that thing in the sky? It doesn't look like a plane. I don't know what that is. That's a UFO. So the terminology and the system of classification behind it were first suggested by the astronomer, and UFO researcher J. Allen Hynek. And this guy is pretty darn interesting. I would actually like to do a whole series on him. About J. Allen Hynek and his government programs that he was involved in. Because I don't know if you've ever heard of the guy. If you've watched one episode of Ancient Aliens, I guarantee you he was mentioned in that episode. The dude is pretty much the father of UFO research.
Yeah. I think I've watched the show a good bit. I'm sure I've heard the name, but lay the info on me. What you know?
All right, so in preparation for this episode, I watched a lot of Ancient Aliens, which I watch a lot of Ancient Aliens anyways. It's a fantastic show, but you have to suspend your belief. If you don't, then obviously you're going to poke holes in all the theories, and it's not going to be fun anymore, okay? It's just a fun show. Kick back, smoke a bowl, watch the show. It's a great time. All right, so back to J. Allen Hynek. So he's most notably charged with debunking UFOs and government projects. And the most famous project is Project Blue Book. There's actually a show about it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I've actually never seen the show. I'm honestly just saying it's cool because if it's about government secrets, that's always cool.
Well, I've just heard of Project
So he was
Blue
a thorough
Book.
scientist. Yeah, so you've heard of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, yeah. So he was a thorough scientist. Like, he was a legit scientist, and he was a skeptic, like most people. But he wasn't an asshole and just, dismissed all of these things. He was like, yeah, there's something here. Like, all these people are claiming that there's things in the sky. They can't all be hallucinating or crazy or whatever. So he actually, went to investigate, and he approached the subject with respect and curiosity, like a scientist would. And he put the events in categories that kind of measured their authenticity or their, the people, like, are they telling the truth or not? And that's where we get the close encounters of the, first, second, and third kind. They don't tell the truthfulness, but they just kind of the degree of your encounter. And so, he was very worried because it wasn't just like farmers or, just random people out there claiming that they saw these things. It was police officers and military pilots, people who he knew just don't make stuff up, So that really got him interested in all this. And he actually, he would go back on saying some of the original things that he first said when he was running these projects. He did a little bit of PR, and he was, that's where swamp gas came from. This guy had explained that swamp gas was a possible reason for lights in the sky. And that's kind of been taken out of context now. And a lot of times it's used when it's not really appropriate in, sightings in the sky. Like, oh, swamp gas. It's like, dude, there ain't no swamps around here. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I've always thought about that.
yeah.
Like, it's swamp gas out in, what is it? Somewhere down in South Texas. Like, I don't think it's far south enough. Like, it's more towards Mexico south. Like, nowhere near Bayou, Texas. Like, Louisiana border shit.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that they said that a respectable scientist who actually studied this stuff had once said, and it could have been a possible explanation, but it doesn't explain everything. So he was actually a pretty legit dude, very interesting, and he actually was a skeptic when he was doing all this, and then he started becoming convinced, not by necessarily the evidence that he was seeing, but by the people who were telling him these stories, After I'm pretty sure he went out to many, middle-aged, lonely housewives who had these, crazy stories about lights in the sky. And he probably reported on those a lot too. But it was the policemen and the military people who were very much like, hey, this happened. And, that's all we can do with it. So, let's get into the degrees of the encounters before we actually start with the story, just so everybody knows and kind of has an idea. So a close encounter of the first kind. Oh, my bad. Go ahead. Yeah.
Lay it on us.
Oh, I thought you said let's back that up.
No, I was like, yeah, man, as soon as you mentioned that, I was like, yeah, let's touch on what the degrees are, because I forgot.
Oh.
I've always heard close encounters of the third kind.
Yeah.
But rarely is it mentioned, the first and second. What?
Okay.
Tell us what
I thought you were
those
saying
be.
let's back that up. We can edit this out. Anyways.
Yeah.
So, a close encounter of the first kind is a visual sighting of an unidentified object less than 500 feet away. So that's pretty close. A close encounter of the second kind is a UFO event in which a physical effect is alleged. So this can be interference in the function of a vehicle or an electronic device, animals reacting weird, physiological effects such as paralysis or heat and discomfort in the witness, and some physical trace of impressions in the ground, whether it be like, weight impressions or like a scorched earth or, like snapped vegetation, things like that.
Yeah.
Or chemicals. Yeah, exactly. Or chemicals. So that's the second kind. Close encounters of the third kind. Now that's an event in which a physical entity can be seen. So it's either like a human-looking thing or a robot. It's usually one of those two. Maybe something in a suit. I don't know. Sometimes reptilians. I don't subscribe to reptilian theory, but hey, if you do, then that could be counted as an encounter of the third kind. So with that being said, Trey, let's go ahead and go into your first story. And, before you say anything, just based off what you know, what encounter, is this? Like, what kind of degree is this?
Well, I was just about to say, this would be an encounter of the third kind, but it was pretty lackluster based on the description. Because
all right, well, let's dig in.
All right. Well, this one hits fairly close to home because it's literally within 50 miles from my house. This is Aurora, Texas.
Aurora. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
It's I don't want to say boony town, but it's a little town heading out towards Bowie, where the fuck it is, like way, like you're heading towards Oklahoma, the Panhandle and shit.
Oh, okay. I get it now.
But they had their little scare on April 17th. Oh, they're gonna have. Yeah, it's coming up again, the anniversary. April 17th.
Oh, yeah.
1897.
1897?
1897.
Are you
this
serious?
Report came in. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is one of those things that kind of get you because I am not too familiar with how successful, like, what do they call them? Dirigibles, blimps, like when those got to be prominent. So I know a hot air balloon's a hot air balloon, but the way they described this thing coming in, it didn't. That's the only thing I could imagine it being, and I'm not sure if they had it in 1900.
Right. Okay. Maybe. I don't know.
That's it. I think we have to double check that. This is when we really needed Jamie.
Yeah. My aviation history is terrible.
Which is really bad considering, the whole area we're from is really big in aviation history.
Yeah.
Like, I had a buddy from out of town.
Oh, well.
He was like, yeah, man, love it. Anyway, out in Aurora, Texas, in 1897, way the fuck back, before the internet, before texting, before
condoms.
Porn? No. I don't know. Now we're just making
Before
shit up.
condoms were widely used.
Before condoms weren't made out of animal parts.
There you go.
There we go. This incident was very much familiar to the Roswell incident in the description of how it happened. Ship came down, landed on a farm. When the locals came out, the crash was pretty shit. They found a person. Well, not a person. They found something that the locals described as not of this earth. But again,
was it humanoid?
I feel like it would have to be humanoid for them to even address it at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay. That
I
makes
feel
sense.
like if they found something somewhat like similar to a dog, but then again, depending on how hard it crashed, they may have just found body parts, and they're just like, this doesn't look right.
Okay, so they found this. They found this craft, and they found some.
They found a person.
Humanoid thingies.
Humanoid thing.
So,
they found something in the wreck.
Okay.
But again, is early, was it 1897? I think Texas had just barely joined the Union. Like, it was not a developed area at the time at all.
Yeah. Okay.
I think, so they had base nearby. Someone, a couple of judges, policemen, whatnot came out. Couldn't much identify really much of anything. But since it's way out, there's no explanation. And since it's also 1897, there's bigger things going on in the world. So
right, yeah.
They kind of just
So what
brushed
did they
over
say? What did they think about this? Like, did they say like, there's something going on here? Or they kind of just like shrugged their shoulders and walked away.
Well, it really seems like they just kind of shrugged their shoulders and walked away. Another big issue was, as soon as it came out, because they're pretty close to Fort Worth and therefore not that far from Dallas and the greater Metroplex. Even way back in the boony days, when something crazy happened, that'd bring people out. And suddenly a
Right.
whole bunch of weirdos who are like, hey, what the fuck happened, are all kind of just walking around your main street gawking or filling up the funeral or the graveyard where they buried the thing. They buried it and gave it a Christian funeral.
What?
Because, it's Texas.
It died a Christian at least. It's going to heaven.
It's right and proper. If anything, there's one very perplexed alien in heaven.
Dude, that'd be crazy. It's just like, how the hell did you get in here?
It's like, dude, I don't know. I went down, it got dark, and here I am.
Does that mean that, like,
Loopholes.
heaven is segregated between, like, species?
I don't know. Is there an alien Jesus?
I don't know, but if there is, he didn't save us. Maybe Jesus was an alien. We're getting off topic here.
Getting off topic, way, way off topic. But now the big thing, the big issue that happened is a lot of people were coming out, and it got to be more and more of a thing. Like, it quieted down, and then it blew up again and quieted down. And then post-Roswell, it became a bigger issue, out to the point where droves of people were coming out. And they're like, I want to, run around this guy's farm with the metal detector, and I want to dig up
so
his
people were
ranch.
actually interested in trying to investigate
people were convinced that some crazy thing happened. And, it
it.
clearly, even the lackadaisical way they describe it, it sounds like something did. But a couple of years ago,
for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like something happened. Like I say, the big thing they also had issue with was a bunch of people just kind of lounging around the graveyard because they put a tombstone. There's a marked spot, and obviously, once we get into the modern day, where there's way more money being thrown at expeditions to try to figure out whether or not these things are true.
Yeah.
That came up, and no one in tiny town Texas really, an older age town, if you want to describe it. Most of the people are older. Yeah, they're not trying to have every asshole across the state. If you've ever been to Roswell and have just talked to people at Roswell, they didn't want that. It's not.
They're just not too keen on having their, private life kind of in the public eye.
Yeah, so they ended up, someone snuck in and removed the headstone. No one claims to know who it is.
Okay. Wait,
And
when was this?
This was actually a couple years ago. The History Channel had come in and did an expose. Had footage of just the stone. They're like, hey, can you not just like wander around and be weird? So they got footage of the stone.
Okay.
But then when they came back for B-roll, the stone was gone. They were like, someone didn't want...
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, they were like, who was that? They're like, History Channel? No, that's... we've had Channel 7 News doing a bullshit puff piece and talking to Ricky down at the bar, the old drunk, but we don't need a nationally broadcasted cable network telling everyone to come fuck around in our graveyard because my grandma and great-grandpa are buried there, and so is, half the town's elders. And, I think that's what they did. They removed the stone, and once people were like, hey, but can we still excavate and find this alien body? And, obviously they're going to be like, dude, we're not going to have you dig up grandma so you can find a quote-unquote alien. And so now it's buried. It's gone.
Yeah, at a certain point, you just got to kind of be respectful. And with a report that old, I mean, what evidence could really be around,
There was a little bit. Like the only thing that could be on evidence, I guess, is they described damage. There was a gentleman. Hold on, I have it written down. No one be upset with me. Judge Proctor is the gentleman whose ranch got hit. And the funniest shit is in I'm going to read the news article at the end. This is the news article from the town. But it clipped his windmill that was on his property and took out his precious flower bed. I think is how they described it. Like, they took the time to
A
mention
man
that.
has priorities.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the 1800s. They're just so like calm and relaxed about it. They're like, oh yeah, something came flying out of the sky today. Must have been moving slow, but it was still flying. Took out a chunk of the windmill and took on old Judge Proctor's flower bed. And we buried him in a Christian grave. That's basically how they wrote it. It's like, that's fucking crazy.
Well, I guess it's very matter of fact. I mean, at the time, I'm sure they weren't too much into embellishing stuff. They seemed like very, especially in like, I guess like North Texas, but like more Northwest Texas. They just very matter of fact, down to earth people, no pun intended. And they're not gonna bullshit, And they're not gonna, make things all pretty either. They're gonna tell you exactly how it happened.
Well, I say here's the only thing that they said was kind of iffy is some people in Fort Worth, I want to say it was a news station, of course, came out and tried to investigate it. And they said they talked to someone else in town, just someone who'd lived there as long as anyone else had, I suppose.
Yeah.
And they said that someone had written it as some bullshit and that the judge never had a windmill on his property.
Well, okay.
But I mean, she was 86.
Wait. Repeat that. We can edit this out, but yeah, you're gonna have to repeat that. So some about I caught the last word. I didn't catch the last word before property.
Oh, it said Proctor never had a windmill on his property.
Oh, he never had a windmill on his property. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we can start there. All right, yeah, okay. So he didn't have a windmill on his property, but he claimed that he did. Maybe it was an insurance claim.
Well, here's the other thing.
Yeah,
too,
he used to have a windmill.
Well, I'll judge her on this because they talked to her in 1980. Way
Jesus.
after she's 86 when they interviewed her, which means at the time of the event she would have been 3. So if this supposed
what's she know about Proctor's windmill?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's supposedly that something had come flying out of the air and took out Proctor's windmill. As far as her memory has ever known, yeah, Mr. Proctor never had a windmill. So maybe
that makes sense.
Maybe she's full of shit. We'll never know.
Well, if it took out his windmill, she's only 3. Her formative years, she would have known a windmill is property. But
exactly.
Yeah, it could all. It's just a ploy. It's all just a ploy. I wonder what she died. What secrets did she die with?
We'll never know. The world may never.
So yeah,
know.
I mean, is that pretty much the gist of the, I guess, Aurora, Texas incident?
Yeah, let's say. Go ahead and just read this little news article, just because it's pretty succinct. It said Aurora.
Okay, go ahead and read that.
Aurora and Wise County, Texas, April 17th. To the news. This is what they sent out to the news. About 6 o'clock this morning, the early risers of Aurora were astonished at the sudden appearance of the airship which had been sailing through the country. It was traveling due north, which very nearer the earth than ever before. Evidently, some of the machinery was out of order, for when it was making a speed of only 10 or 12 miles an hour when it gradually settled toward the earth. It sailed directly over the public square when it reached the north part of town and collided with the tower of Judge Proctor's windmill, and went into pieces with a terrific explosion, scattering debris over several acres of ground, wrecking the windmill and water tank and destroying the judge's flower garden. The pilot of the ship was supposed to have been only one on board, and while his remains were badly disfigured, enough that the originals had been picked up to show that he was not an inhabitant of this world. Mr. T.J. Weems of the United States, Signal Service Officer? Don't know what the hell that is. At this place, I think that was someone who telegraphs.
Okay, maybe.
At this place, an authority on astronomy gives that his opinion there was a native of the planet Mars. I don't know how he got that. Papers found on his person, evidently recorded of his travels, had written some unknown hieroglyphics and cannot be deciphered. Oh, I missed that initially. There was paperwork on him. Wonder where that went.
Okay.
The ship was
like
too badly...
like a police report, or?
No, they said that there was notes on the alien that they found, like on his person.
Oh, okay.
Said the ship was too badly wrecked to form any conclusion as to its construction or mode of power. It was built of an unknown metal resembling somewhat of a mixture of aluminum and silver, and had weighed several tons. The town is full of people today who are viewing the wreck and gathering specimens of strange metal and debris. The pilot's funeral will take place at noon tomorrow.
What? That's insane. So that was actually written.
That was actually written. That was what was sent off to, I think, whatever the biggest newspaper in Fort Worth was in at the time.
That's actually kind of crazy that they were like, hey, his funeral's tomorrow. Come on down. We're having bratwurst.
Come on down. Yeah, grab some metal because it's just a shitload of it and it's 1890 and no one really cares. It's all scrap.
Well, that's actually pretty cool. I've never heard of that. I know there's a lot of Texas-specific sightings. I know Stephenville is a very active place, too, which is very close to us. Yeah, it'd actually be kind of cool to do an episode of just Texas sightings, you know?
Yeah, see, that'd be cool. I've seen a few of them. I saw the Stephenville one. I just didn't know because Carswell said that it's not. They said they weren't running anything that way, but apparently there's another base farther south that I guess didn't ever respond. And that's always the weird kicker with some of these things. It's always when it's near some aerial shit, when it's near a military base, and citizens are the ones, public citizens are the ones reporting it. You're like, well, that might just be some crazy plane, or you're just not. You see flashing lights in the sky that's hauling ass, like too fast to be a commercial jetliner, and you're like, bro, UFO.
Well, I mean, people are going to say,
but if it's a military person,
whatever. Yeah. I mean, they're going to deny. That's the whole job of the government, is to deny, and deny.
That's what I'm saying, is when it's someone near a person near a military base, you're kind of like, maybe. But when it's a military person, who's aware of the equipment around him to whatever degree he can, sees some shit and doesn't know what the fuck it is, that's when you're like, oh, if he doesn't know, he should probably know.
Well, here's the thing. They still deny.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who the person is. The president, not this one, but like past presidents probably could have seen something. And they'd probably convince them that, no, you didn't see. I actually heard that some presidents tried to access some files that had to do with UFOs, but they couldn't. So even sometimes the president, I don't know where I heard the story. It could be complete bullshit. Who knows? But I like to believe that there is like a secret state in the government, but like working undercover, like way underground kind of spooky stuff, where they're just keeping all this stuff, cataloged and archived about all this crazy, phenomenon going on, and nobody has access to it. Kind of like, the other podcast that we listen to. We'll give that one a shout out.
The SCP, the Secure Contain
Protect.
Yeah,
there we go. Kind of like that. That would be that would be really fucking cool if that was real life. But so yeah,
no,
like back to the military. Oh wait, go ahead. You say no, it wouldn't?
No, that'd be horrendous. That's the.
Well, I mean, like toned down. Not some of this stuff that's like, I don't know, like a gelatinous Jew. Jesus Christ, a gelatinous. Gelatinous goo. All right, that was 33 minutes before I said Jew. That's good time. That's good time.
That's a new record.
Yeah, so like a gelatinous goo that just like eats everything and destroys it, Not stuff like that, but just kind of more innocuous stuff. But like, yeah, UFO sightings where they actually have like bodies materials where they keep that stuff, and nobody else knows about it. But so yeah, speaking of the military, my incident has to do with the military. Actually, it has to do with the Navy. And this one's pretty interesting because there's video footage of it. You can't refute video footage. And it's not handheld camcorder. It's from a FLIR camera on a jet. So that stuff is pretty intense. Very high-tech stuff. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't a malfunction or anything like that. It was actually captured and commentated on live. And so I'll go ahead and get into it. On November 14th, 2004, the USS Princeton, which is part of the USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, which I'm just going to call this the Nimitz incident from now on, identified an unknown craft on radar about 100 miles off the coast of San Diego. So when they had seen it, it had been like about 80,000 feet in the air, and then it just dropped to like right above the ocean. Like it just...
Oh, shit.
Yeah, crazy, right? All right, so
Like,
two FA-18F fighter jets, Jesus Christ, I'm going to do that again. So two FA-18F fighter jets from the aircraft carrier Nimitz, they went on a fly. I think they were doing some mission or something like that. But they saw something down there on the water, and like the water was churning. Like you actually see on the camera, like water. You see waves in the water. It's a very like, I guess, smooth day. It's not that choppy, but where this thing is, like it's choppy in that area. So water had been churning. They see the shadow of an oval shape underneath the surface. So they think they call it a tic tac shape. It's shaped like a capsule, like a pill capsule, tic tac shape. And so it's just hovering above the water, like just chilling there, right? The infrared monitors did not show any exhaust, so there's no exhaust on it. So a man named Commander David Fravor and another Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate, they were in the jets, and they saw it. They saw it on the radar, and they saw it accelerate away. Like, so this thing just like zoomed off, right? And then it reappeared on the radar 60 miles away. So just, 60 miles away. So it moved three times the sign. Jesus Christ! It moved 3 times the speed of sound, and more than twice the speed of fighter jets. So this thing is just explosively fast. If there was anything inside, it would be completely just turned into goo. That was a slip up. Yeah, we can cut that. I'm just being silly. All right, so, and cut here. Okay.
But no,
so,
that would be fucking. I can't imagine something to. The ability to go from like 0 to 3 times the speed of sound would literally break all the bones and ligaments in your body from you bouncing off the seat. Like I can't imagine any way to do that without.
I don't know how many G's that is, but if you weren't like, if you weren't just melted, you definitely what's the word? You definitely pass out. Yeah, for sure. You pass out like instantly. So yeah, that's crazy stuff. Whatever's in there, it must have some type of protective barrier around it. If there's anything in there at all, like living wise, something that advanced might not even be, manually controlled. It's definitely probably like a remote thing. So, brief FLIR video was released to the public by the UFO research group To the Stars Academy of Arts and Science, which was founded by the Blink-182 guitarist Tom DeLonge. So that's crazy in and of itself. It's like, wait, what? The dude from Blink-182 started a UFO research academy. So he's actually putting money into this, and serious money, and it's a very serious endeavor, and it's getting a lot of things. So they were actually the people who were able to file a Freedom of Information Act request to get these things out. And apparently there's longer cuts of this video, and there's actually 2 other videos that were recorded and released by the Navy, and they're available for public use, and they all show very similar things. Not necessarily a tic-tac thing, but just, unidentified objects on radars, and it's pretty nuts. So yeah, apparently there's longer cuts of the video, but people deny it. The Navy denies it. The guy who saw the actual thing on radar, Commander Fravor, denies it. But when they requested the videos, they said that they couldn't be released in their entirety due to national security. Like, they could be damaging to national security. So I don't know how true that is. So there may be more out there. So what happened was, after they saw these things, and they're literally talking about it like on the camera, they're like, "Oh my God, did you see that? Like, what is it doing?" It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So when they land, Commander Fravor, they do a debriefing, and people are like, just kind of laxed about it. They're kind of making fun of him. "Oh, heard you saw some aliens up there." Nobody's taking it seriously, and so he didn't take it very seriously. He knew he saw something weird, but he didn't really think like, "Oh yeah, I saw something that needs to be explained. People need to go after this." He kind of just dismissed it after that. But I mean, he tells the story no problem. He doesn't remember there being any type of scrub of data, but there is another sailor who actually, their job was to take the data from the jets and have it analyzed and archived and whatever they do with the data. And apparently he was approached by his CO and two other officers he's never seen before, and he was told to hand over the data, which is out of the normal for him. So that's definitely a possibility that they try to cover up more. Yeah. So yeah, that is the Nimitz story, and that is one of many, many naval UFO stories. I mean, if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense, because they're usually out there in the water or they're in the sky, and there's a lot of sky over the water. There's a lot of uninhabited places in the water, obviously. So it would make a lot of sense to see UFOs out there. If they don't want to be seen, they're trying to do something covertly, that's where you'd capture them. And it makes a lot of sense that jets capture them, either jets or just other aircraft, because they're right up there with them.
Well, I'd say it makes sense since I didn't know this, that who has the second largest air force in the world?
The Air Force?
The U.S. Navy.
I think the Navy has more planes than the Air Force.
It's possible.
I think so. Maybe. I remember hearing that when I was in, but again, everything I hear is complete bullshit. There's nothing can be verified. Not even the stuff we're telling you.
There's a fuckload of naval pilots. Even Top Gun is about fucking naval pilots. But
yeah. Actually, it's kind of weird, right?
It is. It's a little weird, but I mean, I guess they didn't want any prissy Air Force guys, got to have the Marriott suite when they get deployed on the boat, because they wouldn't.
I'm not going to further the stereotype. I respect our brothers in uniform. Okay, thank you for your service. Trey, you're maligning the military and the Air Force. I will not stand for this.
The chair.
So I'm going to join the chair force. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So
saw it coming.
Yeah. What do you think about that though?
Man, it's like I said, it's one of those things that get you. It was on video. Someone who is in a fighter jet, someone who you think would have a general understanding of how even some of the fastest planes we have can move.
Yeah.
And
that's exactly what was explained. Yeah, these things were like out-flying jets. Yeah.
Like, he sounds like, dude, what? Like, he's kind of laughing, but I feel like that was more of a nervous laugh. Like, dude, I'm up in the air. I'm in a screaming metal box, and there's something out there that I don't know what it is. And it's faster than me. So if it decides it wants me out of the air, I can't outmaneuver it. It's done.
You're exactly right. Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a laugh of, I can't believe this kind of thing.
Yeah, like, am I going to die, guys?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm about to buy the farm.
All right, so that was my naval story, and I understand that you have some more naval UFO stories. Go ahead and lay it on us.
I got it. This story is the USS Theodore Roosevelt UFO incident.
The old Teddy Roosevelt US UFO incident.
The old USS Teddy Bear.
I'm the best hype man. I can't even talk right now. Jesus Christ.
These incidents, this was a little weirder because the last two incidents we talked about were short bursts. You know, it was a single flash in the pan. What the fuck was that? We may never know.
Yeah. Okay.
The Roosevelt apparently was being harassed for almost a year by UFOs.
Now that just sounds annoying.
Let's see. They were deployed out for training in the Persian Gulf, 2014.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Navy pilots reported to seeing them almost daily.
That actually doesn't sound fun.
No, that sounds concerning as shit. He said
Yeah.
they would come in as unidentified gauzy blobs on cockpit displays, onboard and offboard radar, infrared detections, and visual sightings were all coming in on these things constantly for the Roosevelt. And they had one pilot say that something almost clipped him, and it was he described it as a sphere encased in a cube, and it almost collided with him, and it
That's scary, dude.
the VFA 11 fighter squadron to deploy and try to clear the skies and figure out what's going on. And I couldn't find any continuation of that report, so I'm not sure if they found something or if they had to just come back because they realized they weren't going to keep up with it.
Yeah. That's definitely a possibility. That's crazy. I'd never heard of this. Is there any like other, I guess, radar footage of it or anything like that? Just documents?
They had the stuff from the Nimitz, and I want to say they had some of the, god damn it, I found it. It's the local infrared radar scanning on the tops of aircraft carriers, basically like watching the general area.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, they had footage of that highlighting and shit hauling ass.
Okay.
But that's less exhilarating visually than the Nimitz footage, where it's clearly something you can see it booking it in more of a clear way. Like, this guy's in a jet hauling ass himself, and this thing is still like flying circles around him.
Hello?
So the bigger issue going on with that is, like you said, it took a Freedom of Information Act to get all this stuff to come out because they had another incident in 2017 and 2018.
The Teddy Roosevelt had the similar incident, or is it?
That's when it was released. You said it was the To the Stars was the group.
Yeah, To the Stars Academy. So, yeah, it might have been one of those videos because I know there was 3 videos of 3 separate incidents, and that might have been one.
Oh, it was the FA-18 Super Hornet from the Roosevelt.
Yeah,
that was from the Roosevelt.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, they had a jet on it too. So yeah, the Jets had footage on that. The Roosevelt had footage. But after this came out, I didn't read the thing about the Nimitz where the officer came in, but I did read after this that the Pentagon and the Navy, basically the Pentagon cracked down the Navy, and the Navy cracked down, immediately releasing a form to naval pilots saying that they have to alter the way that they report UFO sightings and incidents in the future.
Oh, shit.
Like, there's no more seeing it and everyone gets to go run around on the blacktop laughing about it. Like, you see it, you shut up, you come back, you report to your commanding officer, and you never talk about it again.
Ew. Yikes. Yeah, that definitely means that they're hiding something. That's definitely not something, a transparent organization would do. And why would they try to hide that? Because they're hiding the truth.
Yeah, see, that's a whole episode's worth of speculation is why hide aliens? Like it's one
Because
of
we
those
can't handle it, all right? We cannot handle the truth.
Well, it's
my head would explode.
I mean, I could understand. Like, I believe there's aliens out there. It's the
Me
implications
too. Absolutely.
of them being here is what's terrifying.
They ain't here. The scary thing about the universe and time and distance is that there could have been a incredibly advanced race of aliens that had went across the universe, seeded places, and developed, I guess, traveling through wormholes and just traveling through space-time, and they could have died out. They could have went through all that and then died out, and then now we come along. Like, that's how crazy like the universe is in terms of time and distance. All that could have happened before even us, shitting ourselves on this rock.
Let's say there's a lot of theories when it comes to alien life. Like I said, probably worth another episode. But one of them is basically that life. There's, like I said, there's such a broad expansion between life. The possibility of life starting at the same time and developing at the same rate into similar creatures is really small. So the chances are, like, there could be life out there right now, but only microbial life, or only what is the intergalactic version of a cockroach is all there is. That's as smart as it gets out in the universe, and it's just us screaming out into the void.
Isn't that a little sad when you think about it? You're like, man, the universe is abundant with life, just not at the same time.
Yeah, like, and as soon as we get to the point of almost destroying our civilization, because that's another theory, is that the universe is full of life, but once it gets to the point where it really could become an intergalactic force, we end up trashing ourselves. Like, it's just a inevitability.
Yeah, we definitely should do a whole episode on just like theories about aliens.
I'd be all about that.
In life, yeah, we could definitely do that. That'd be dope. So yeah, okay. So is there anything more on that? That's crazy that how I read about the Nimitz and you read about the Roosevelt, but we didn't know about the other. Little weird how that happened. Coincidence?
I think not. Nothing's a coincidence. If you missed it,
nobody exists on purpose.
Master Oogway.
My bad. I didn't know you were continuing.
I couldn't remember his name. I was like, you do a quote and you're like, you might as well just said Albert Einstein. No one would have looked it up.
All right, so yeah, that was the Roosevelt.
That was the Roosevelt.
All right. Well, it sounds like we got a little bit time. We got 20 minutes before we blow this taco stand. So I'll go ahead and give you my banger of a UFO story. Now, this story is essentially one of the first ones that kind of brought UFOs to the mainstream in terms of seeing aliens and being abducted by them and reporting on it. I know your stuff happened in 1897, one of those things, but this is one that actually like kind of started UFO culture,
Is that the couple that got abducted?
God damn it, you're right, Trey. I can't shake the goddamn it where I say it when I'm not disappointed.
No, it's perfect. No. That would have been good.
All right.
But...
Trey knows all about this. Okay. Anyways, so this is the Betty and Barney Hill story. All right. Like I said, it kind of sparks the abduction, kind of string, patterns. Yeah. In UFO culture in America, at least. So to set the scene, we're driving down a country road in the White Mountains in New Hampshire in 1961. So a mysterious light is following Betty and Barney Hill as they're driving their car. So they see this light, right? And then I think somewhere around there it gets fuzzy. Well, 2 hours later, they arrive home and they kind of snap to. They kind of realize like, oh, we're home. They had lost 2 hours. Their watches were broken. They were dirty, and obviously they drove home without noticing that they were driving. Like they were unconscious. So obviously that's pretty darn concerning. I'd be very unsettled. You know, it's like waking up from a nap late in the evening and you're very confused about the time of day, and all of a sudden your reality just collapses in on you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly like that. So they start having some issues, like some mental health issues, anxiety, crazy dreams. They know something's not right. So they go and see somebody. They go and see is he a psychiatrist? Psychologist? Sorry, I have it down here. He's a hypnotist. He's a psychiatrist / neurologist who's actually specializes in hypnotism. So
yeah.
He ends up hypnotizing them and kind of pieces this story together of what happened. So essentially, this is kind of what happened. So they went on a road trip, and they were going to be gone for 3 days. It was a very sporadic road trip. They were like, all right, let's just go. They don't get a whole lot of time to themselves. They finally had some time. So they took a road trip. They're coming on their way back. They stop in Vermont. They drink some coffee at a diner. This is about 10 p.m. at night. And they figured, hey, let's push through the night. We can get home by 2, 3 the latest, all right? 3 in the morning. Yeah. So they head out. They're driving, and then they notice this light. So they kind of just like dismiss it. There's still there's planes during that time, helicopters, all sorts of things in the sky, whatever. No big deal. But Barney was a World War II vet, and apparently he liked to watch planes. So he kind of assured Betty, he's like, oh, it's just a plane or maybe a satellite that got off course. He didn't want to alarm her, but he, on the inside, was freaking the fuck out. He's like, this thing is following us, man. So he knows a thing or two. Yeah. So he notices, they take this winding road in the White Mountains, and they realize that the light is following them in this like serpentine kind of zigzag pattern along with them. So they couldn't tell if like the light was moving because they were moving or if the light was moving. So they got curious and pulled over at a rest stop. They pulled out some binoculars and they looked at the light, and apparently they realized that it was a rotating disc. It was just a disc spinning. So like, what the hell is that? All right. So they get back into the car, and they get scared because this craft starts like getting closer. And so now it's about 100 feet above them, which is like above the tree line. So it's pretty darn close. Well, he gets tired of this. He pulls over, stops the car, pulls out his gat, his 9 milli, and just runs out into a field. I guess he's gonna shoot.
He comes out strapped, ready to go.
Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, he comes out strapped. All right, so he runs out into this dark field, and he sees the thing. I guess it lands, I don't know if it lands or if it's still in the sky, but he can see it pretty well. So he gets up to it, and he realizes that it's this big ass flat, like metallic disc shaped kind of thing. It's as big as a jet, like a jet plane, and there's windows on it, and he sees inside these gray beings on the inside of this craft through these windows. And he tries to pull his handgun, but he's kind of stopped. He actually physically can't move to get his gun. And he hears a voice. I don't know whether it's outside his head or inside his head, but it tells him not to put the binoculars down. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's cryptic or like a literal message, but it tells him not to put the binoculars down. So he hightails it out of there. He's like, holy shit, I don't know what this is. So he runs, books it back to the car, and they try to take off. Well, when they're taking off, they hear something in their trunk, and it's this loud rhythmic beeping, and they start to get drowsy, and then they just bam, unconscious. So yeah, that's pretty much about what they remember. Actually, I don't know what the last thing they remember is, but that was pieced together sort of. I guess that's kind of what they remember because they learned more later on through the hypnosis therapy. So once they met with Benjamin Simon, that psychiatrist and neurologist who hypnotized them, they realized that they had actually been taken aboard the craft. So they had, in their hypnosis sessions, they had said that they were, or like a craft landed on their car, put them to sleep, and then they were transported into the craft by the beings. They were examined, they were put in separate rooms, and they were examined. Apparently the surgical tables were very short because the dude's legs were hanging off of them. So we got these tiny ass tables, which must have looked hilarious. Just like a bunch of tiny, like baby-sized kind of things, just running around with all these like all this medical equipment. That'd be hilarious. Add some Benny Hill in the background, you know.
Wait, so are they saying that the aliens were really small? Like, was it a bunch of
Well, they didn't say that
big-headed
they were
toddlers all around them?
I don't know how small they were exactly, but the table was small. So they were definitely smaller than average-sized humans. That's for sure. So I don't know exactly. They could have been like, you know, anywhere between 3 and 5 feet. It didn't say exactly, so I don't know if they even kind of got a sense of their height. But
Yeah.
the table was small, and I don't know how big he was. Probably in the average American height, like, I don't know, anywhere between 5'8" and 5'10". So anyways, they start doing these like collection tests on them. They collect some hair, some skin, some nail samples. They poke a hole in Betty's stomach, and it's like a 4 to 6 inch long needle, and she's like writhing in pain. And apparently it's like a pregnancy test, and that was pretty painful and traumatic for her. And then she remembers that some other aliens like came in through her door, and they were all excited, and they were holding a pair of teeth, like a set of teeth, and they were like excited. And I guess she understood what they were doing. They were excited that they were able to take Barney's teeth out. And then she laughs, and she's like, "Oh, those are dentures." And she tries to explain dentures to them, and they're like, "Wait, what?" So they were excited they can extract some teeth, and then I guess they got, you know, displeased that it was not real. Imagine that, though. Imagine trying to explain dentures to aliens. It's like, hey, I didn't expect to spend my Monday night like this.
That's just, I mean, I don't know. I think I'd be way more distracted just with them coming in. Like, you're already concerned, confused. There's little weird things running around and stabbing you with needles. And then one of them just comes in with a set of dentures, and they're just like clickety-clacking them, all excited in the back. That's either going to be super hilarious or super horrifying given your surroundings. And I feel like that's top tier horrifying.
I would be upset that they didn't understand something so simple as dentures, you know? I mean, they could see that they know to collect skin, they know to collect hair and nails, so they know those have functions. So why don't they know what teeth do and how they fit in the body? Maybe, I don't know. I would just assume that if say if we got some alien body samples and we dissected them and started going through like an autopsy, we could probably figure out a lot of their systems. So I assume that they've been doing this to humans for a while. Why don't they know their shit? You know?
My thing is, you know, I feel like that's a very odd thing to be impressed with. Like, you said this was the 60s, right?
Yeah.
What year in the 60s?
1961.
Okay. Well, we had rockets that could get into the stratosphere. Like, we were on our way to the space race.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We were.
I don't. Dentures is low on the list.
Yeah, it's pretty low on the invention list.
Yeah.
Of like a medical device. It's like
But
a leg cast. Like, it's useful. It's creative.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, dude, we have combustion engines and toasters and a bunch of weird, like, nifty shit, and you're like, oh, bro, they figured out how to replace their teeth? I thought they could
maybe
grow
it's
more
because
teeth.
they're humans from the future who are so far in the future that they have absolutely zero idea how humans in the past lived, kind of like how we do now. Like, we have absolutely zero idea how cavemen lived. You know, we don't know the intricacies of their life. You know, we know they had tools and weapons and all that stuff, but we don't know their intricacies, you know? And maybe that's what they're fascinated, just the intricacies.
You know what? That actually kind of follows, considering as our brains develop, as we continue to develop as a species, why we had the problem with wisdom teeth.
Yeah.
Is our jaws are shrinking because the amount of muscle, like
not mine.
The indents on your head that holds your jaw muscles have to be deeper if you have a big honking jaw. So as we get bigger brains, like as our brains continue to grow, like that is a continuous thing, our jaws have to get smaller and therefore can fit less teeth. That's why most people have to get their wisdom teeth pulled, because there's literally not room in our body anymore for this body part that's being told to generate.
Yeah. And some humans are born with vestigial tails. Like,
well, I'm saying
there's definitely a lot of stuff in our genome that hasn't been expressed in a long time, and probably at a certain a point will stop being expressed, and the future form won't recognize it.
Oh yeah, well, I was saying the way they describe gray aliens is big
Oh yeah,
eyes, huge head, usually
yeah.
tiny mouths, and short little wiry frames. But if that's the case, future humans, that, like I said, it kind of follows. If we continue to have bigger brains, bigger heads, we're potentially going to have smaller jaws to the point where we just have like a sharp beak.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Or just like a little opening. That makes a lot of sense. But another theory is that, or that I came up with, just the pattern, because in one of our episodes we talked about the Mothman and the encounter with Injured Cole, and he asked Woody Derenberger, what is that thing? He pointed off in the distance, and Woody was like, "That's a town. That's a city." So it didn't understand the concept of like community living. So I guess maybe it is a pattern of just like they just don't understand the intricacies of humans. Like maybe they understand humans, but not their the inner workings.
See, that's one of the things that I always thought, that if potentially something traveled here, if it did have to travel so far, like even 3, 4, 5 times the speed of sound, it's still going to take a long fucking time to get to the next closest star.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
if you're
like
traveling
that's
at the
why
speed
the
of
only
light.
way. Yeah, that's why I think the only way that you can actually get vast distances in a reasonable amount of time is literally going through, like a wormhole,
Yeah,
like
you'd
ripping
have to
space and
be
time
that far
and
ahead.
skipping it. Yeah.
But I'm saying the thing that gets me is I feel like it would be easier. Let's say you haven't figured out wormholes, or
Yeah.
you figured it out and you're not 100% sure you want to put human bodies through it. I
Yeah.
feel like drones, like unmanned craft and robotic, I don't know how you want to put it, surveyors, I guess,
Yeah.
would be
It's just a drone.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the robot didn't have much of anything except for to like receive information. It doesn't have its own input, because a lot of the times when you hear those stories, it's not, the alien never compares anything. Like they never seem to slightly understand something. It's always, hey, what's that? What's this? What are you doing with
Yeah.
that? What's going on over there? And
And
it's
another
never.
thing is like I don't understand how they're capable of communicating with us, but still not able. It's a lot of things don't add up. So if you have space travel, but you don't understand basics of, I guess, I don't know much of anything when it comes to like I guess another species and their patterns and what they do. And it's also a weird thing to be so advanced and still just be clueless about things that would make sense in an evolutionary standpoint.
Yeah, let's say that's the if you understand, if you could figure out a way to talk to us, the only way we know how to do that is to find a language that's we know, and then hopefully see that someone translated another language into that. Like you got to translate it into your language to understand it, which would probably
Yeah.
mean you have words and concepts for that. Because what is language but a bunch of nothing but nouns and prepositions? Like you could learn a word, you can learn that this small phrase is a word, and I'm describing something. But how are you going to talk to me without knowing nouns, like without knowing what shit is?
Right. Yeah.
It
And
just
that's
seems
exactly
weird.
like my issue with, just the gaps in knowledge that these alleged, extraterrestrial beings seem to have. Why don't they know everything about everything?
That's what I'm saying. I feel like it would make more sense if it was robotic surveyors, like someone who's just coming out just to literally ask questions and questions. And it would also make more sense why every time we meet quote unquote aliens, they're all
Mm-hmm.
super fucking humanoid.
That
It
is
would
true.
make sense. Like if
But I
I
always thought
saw,
that they were humanoid because of evolution. That's kind of like a natural thing that it does.
no, because I think that'd be weird as hell. Just the automatic assumption that bipedal quadruped is a standard go-to. You know, there could
Yeah,
be another planet where
you're
the
right. Like,
standard life form, the first thing to crawl out of the water, even if it followed anywhere near the same evolution timeline as us, had like 8 legs. And there's fucking
yeah,
possibly a civilization of Goro people. But even then, that's still kind of
people.
pretty human. There could literally just be super intelligent blobs that are made of not even
You're absolutely
carbon.
right, but when I think about that, I think about what does standing on 2 feet, how does that benefit things versus four? And I think it allows for better locomotion in terms of long travel. So if something needs to travel long distances, bipedal is probably the way to go in terms of just like how much energy you use. You're not moving your entire body so much as just your 2 legs. And so I wonder how much of it is evolution and how much is they're trying to appease us by, taking on our form. Or is it
As I
just the
say, it would
default?
make
Is that the
sense
universal
if it
default?
was. As I say, it would make sense if it was they're trying to not shock us. Like I say, if there were 12 foot
Yeah.
tall, crazy,
That
like
blows out the window.
super
As
intelligent
soon as they roll
snakes.
in, that just goes out the window.
Yeah, like they're not gonna. They know they're like,
I'm
yeah,
shocked.
we've
I'm
seen
static
Earth
shocked.
movies. We're not gonna go down there like this.
Yeah.
We'll get shot at. Let's send a
Yeah.
robot that looks like them, that talks like them, and maybe they won't kill it as fast. Maybe we can actually figure some
Maybe.
information out before they
Maybe.
drag
That's
back
actually a
to
good
the
idea, though.
woods.
I like that. I like that idea. So we'll put that in the bank of possible things that would happen during an encounter. How would we react? We could talk a whole episode about theories of how people would react, or countries, religions, cultures, like how they would react. How would the world change? That'd be a fun thought experiment. So yeah, that's my Betty and Barney Hill story. You apparently knew a little bit about it, but that one's really interesting to me. Again, there's no real, I guess, there's no real evidence. It is a third kind encounter. They straight up got snatched. They got yoinked into space. All right. So yeah, we don't know if it's absolutely true or not. But that's what's fun about these stories is they're weird, they're fantastical, they're wild. Why do people make this up?
Well, see, that's the reason I like that story. It's one, like I said, it's the oddball story. He says the Navy pilot. He knows that if he just goes around making the Navy look bad, saying they're a bunch of UFO freaks, he's gonna lose face. It's not a good thing to do.
Yeah.
This random couple that it's not a prominent thing to be stolen up in the night by aliens came out and had that incident and had something crazy happen to him. Everything after that is kind of questionable because it's like, all right, are the aliens coming in and suddenly doing like a roundup of Americans during this time frame, or was it someone read this story, had one of those moments where they went on autopilot and lost 30 minutes and they're like, was I just abducted? I gotta call press. Like, and, it's after the
there's
big
a lot
news
of
story.
things. Yeah, there's a lot of
you
things that could explain it, or be an excuse for it.
But at the same time, maybe we're just feeding into aliens' plan. We're just ignoring it.
That's a good point. That's what's fun about these. Like, you can always come up with a conspiracy for everything. For everything, man. It's a rabbit hole, for sure. Or more like a black hole, honestly. You're never coming out of it. You're never going to come out sane or with any shred of absolute truth. But is that what this is about? Is this about the truth? I don't think so.
I would like to know the truth, but at the same time, I am very open to fantastical stories, and that's what a lot of conspiracy
me too.
is. It's just,
absolutely.
it's just how some conspiracy, with alien stories, it's like, oh man, they're keeping it secret because humans just don't know how to handle. Like, religion will fall apart, and the government will have to admit they can't protect you. All this crazy shit, but it's still, still in the back of your mind. That shit might be legit.
this shit might be legit, and I always hold on to that. That's what keeps me alive, because life is so boring. I want this stuff to be real. Be real. You know? So yeah, we're at our hour and 15-minute mark. It is now 9 o'clock, so we can go ahead and wrap this episode up. You got any closing remarks?
Wash the skies. Wash your hands.
Watch the skies. Oh, okay.
Aliens are out there.
All right, say that again, because I thought you were gonna just cut off that, so we can edit it here at 1 hour 15 minutes 50 seconds. Go ahead and say it again.
Watch the skies. Wash your hands. And aliens are out there.
Hey, that's a perfect sign-off message for every show, but specifically for this show.
I think it fits.
I think it fits. I think I found my sign-off, and it's I Want to Believe. It's from the X-Files. Love the X-Files. I was listening to the theme song just to prepare for this mentally. So yeah, I was definitely in conspiracy mode for these stories.
Has that show been off the air long enough where we can steal that as the intro? Like their intro song is
No,
ours?
absolutely not. Absolutely not. That intro is completely trademarked to hell, or copyright written to hell, I'm pretty sure. Because it was actually on like a year or two ago. They rebooted the series.
Ah, fuck.
It was decent. Yeah, it was decent. So, if you don't actually watch X-Files, I recommend you to watch X-Files. It's a very good show. Very good show. It ages well.
I'll have to check it out. Or I'll check it out
For
again.
sure, man. Check it out. So yeah, we can like just pretty much stop at any time here. We're just shooting the shit. We can just stop recording. I guess we can. Huh?
And that's been.
Is it what?
Now I'm concerned.
Fuck. Do that again. My bad. I didn't know you were gonna do that.
And that's been. And now I'm concerned.
Thanks, guys, for listening. We do apologize about the outcome of this episode. We're probably going to have to do a lot of plastic surgery on the audio files just to get them synced up. We goofed up a lot, so we're going to have to edit a lot. So if you did stick around to the end of the episode, we appreciate it. We're hopefully going to fine-tune these episodes until the quarantine ends and we can actually do this in person. There's a lot of charm that's kind of lost with not being able to see each other. So we're hoping to get that back, or at least make up for that through these, online sessions.
So we're working on it. You stick with us, we'll stick with you, and we'll make it work.
Yes, sir. And, so that is Alfredo and Trey. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good day.